Manchester City dealt with Real Madrid in the Champions League. Now it's our turn to do the same in La Liga. See you Sunday, merengues. See you Sunday. What's going on, guys? ¿Cómo están? BugaLuis here, and welcome back to another video here on the channel. And today we of course have El Clasico, the biggest derby in the entire world. And before starting off, guys, I want to know your predictions right away. Pause the video, leave them down below, because we're going to be entering a breakdown of seeing everything that you need to know for this game. So take the time to do it right now. And before starting off, I also gotta say that subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this video, and get ready for, hopefully, if La Liga doesn't copy strike me, a live stream post-match of El Clasico. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be there. So let's start off right away with the head-to-head forms of both two teams. This is very important to see what Barcelona might need to improve and how our actual performances have really been in comparison to our biggest rivals, Real Madrid. So starting off with Barcelona, we're going to be saying that Barcelona have won only 3 of the last 5 games that they've had in all competitions. The 2 that we haven't won are the draw against Napoli in the Champions League, and then we have the loss at the Copa Rey against Atletico Bilbao. Those 2 matches have been only by a kind of margin of 1 goal, so that's a way Barcelona you can kind of measure. And I would say that out of the 5 games, actually there are 2 very comparable to our actual form record. 2 games that we haven't performed to the best of our abilities. That one being the one against Getafe that we still managed to win but didn't perform as good, and then the one against Napoli where I still think that we weren't able to reach full gear. I think those 2 games really show how Barcelona have been here. They're kind of been in a little bit of a turmoil, and results-wise, Quique Setién coming in hasn't really changed that much from Ernesto Valverde, but the way that we are playing has. That is something that he has been able to tune so far. We are pressuring a little bit higher, we're passing the ball a little bit faster, but still not at that level that we are all used to from previous eras back with Barcelona. Adding to this, I would also like to point out that away from home, Barcelona have been doing reasonably well when we take into account these past 3 games. But when talking about actually El Santiago Bernabeu, when talking about Real Madrid, Barcelona has been able to win in 8 of the last 11 games in this stadium. Barcelona have absolutely no problem whatsoever going to the Bernabeu and getting a win. We got last season 2 wins, the 3-0 victory in La Copa del Rey and then the 1-0 victory in La Liga. And even before that, with more games like Ernesto Valverde, we had a 3-0 victory, even a game where Alex Vidal scored, and even before that with Luis Enrique, you have that amazing comeback 3-2 in the last few minutes. So Barcelona really doesn't have a problem with matching to the standards of Bernabeu, and you could see that El Santiago Bernabeu is also not that big of a deal for Real Madrid in these past 3 games. So moving on to Real Madrid now in head-to-head form, we take a look at a Madrid team that are in the lowest point of their entire season. They have only been able to win one of the last 5 games in all competitions. They have 2 losses on the bounce, one against Manchester City in the Champions League, the loss against Levante away from home. Then you have a 2-2 draw against Celta Vigo where they draw points. They won 4-1 against Osasuna away from home. And then at Santiago Bernabeu as well in La Copa del Rey, they lost 4-3 against Real Sociedad, guys. So you could see if Santiago Bernabeu for Real Madrid hasn't been a temple that they are kind of keeping sacred. No, they don't care about tainting it, because they've been losing. They've not been getting the results that they wanted at their own ground, and that is something that Barcelona can take advantage of when coming into this game. And now, guys, moving on to the what to expect section, the hot takes. The very first one for me is going to be to tell Quique Setién just to not overthink too much. And I don't want to criticize our manager or scrutinize him in any way, shape or form, but listen me out. Great tacticians like Pep Guardiola, people that, you know, claim themselves to be very kind of supportive of the Cruyffism methods in football, they will tend to overthink sometimes a lot these very big games. Example, Pep Guardiola. Against Tottenham Hotspur, for instance, last year, I think they literally lost that tie because of the very first leg, because he played a very weird 11, and against Real Madrid, he could potentially have done the very same thing. He got the victory, but just imagine if he would have lost. So many people would have been criticizing his selection of dropping Agüero and putting Gabriel Jesus. Or, for instance, not playing Raheem Sterling from the get-go. Those are things that can cost you in a way. And even though it worked out for Guardiola in this game, it might have well not done so. For Quique Setién, for instance, in the Europa League last year when he played with Real Betis against Rennes, he didn't perform that well, and he got kicked out in a very humiliating fashion. So that is something that I would tell Setien for games like this. Just not overthink. Against Napoli, I would have believed that playing a 4-3-3 was good enough, having an extra kind of player to add verticality, like Ansu Fati, and not having a false winger like Arturo Vidal could have done well. And here against Real Madrid, I have to stick with the very same thing. So let's go over to my second point, and it's going to be exactly that. It's going to be the verticality of this team. Arturo Vidal as a false winger was hampering the verticality of our team against Napoli. And it was the role of Antoine Griezmann that he self-criticized in a post-match reaction, that he said that that was his job. Setien told him to act on that, to be the vertical kind of engine, the cog of this machine that will push the team forward. And Griezmann that's not his job. That's not exactly the role of a player that he is. Players like Ansu Fati, in my opinion, could be the player to really decide a game like El Clasico, because he has the pace in him, and taking into account that literally the Real Madrid defense is a yellow. It's literally like a jello. They're moving all over the place like a marmalade. I think it would make a lot of sense to have Ansu Fati here. Ramos is way too big on himself. The goal against Celta de Vigo in the equalizer in the past few minutes is a real clear example of that. And then the red card against Gabriel Jesus in Man City, also the very same thing. So let's take advantage of it, guys. This game is there to be a little bit vertical, because Real Madrid, even though they want to be solid, they cannot achieve it simply because of the players that they have at their disposal. And more importantly, the midfield that we need to put onwards to this game has to be a lot more direct. I think that Rakitic against Napoli was a really bad hindrance, and seeing the incorporation of Arthur just literally gave it a much better kind of directness to the game. His intricacy there literally just over fatigued the players of Napoli, and he was able to control that perfectly. Just one player. So Artur, De Jong, and Busquets have to play there. And even if you say something to me like Riqui Puig, a player like him, can also do a lot more than that. And I think that, for instance, that's a card that we could play in this El Clasico. We have to be a little bit more direct with a style of play, especially with the midfield. I know that Quique Setién wants to give the solidity, but directness, guys, this can be the way, especially taking into account that the weaknesses of Real Madrid are there for us to take. And the final hot take that I want to bring onto the table, guys, is that one of Martin Braithwaite. Because Ansu Fati, I already mentioned, he's a verticality, he can stem, and he can do everything for this team. But what about Braithwaite? Braithwaite is a player that can also add us a lot in that situation, a little bit more than Ansu Fati, I would believe. As he's older, he's kind of a little bit, I wouldn't say he's pacier, but he has a little more dedication. He's not as afraid to get into those challenges. He can withstand a little bit more, simply because just he's kind of, like I say, a little bit more of an experienced player overall in La Liga. He might not have the quality, but he could be of a very, very interesting pick. And a lot of media outlets have been saying out there that Braithwaite might be a player just to start this game. And to be honest, in my opinion, that is not the worst of shouts. For me, is that the debate. Would I go with Ansu Fati? Would I go with Braithwaite? I think that having Arturo Vidal in that conversation is wrong. Arturo Vidal could come off the bench and can give us a lot in this game. Yes, he could. But for the first few minutes, it's either Braithwaite or Ansu Fati. And in my opinion, you're going to be seeing who I'm going to be picking in the predicted 11s. So in the case of Real Madrid, I'm going to keep you waiting on that decision. We're going to be seeing a 4-4-2 for Real Madrid. I think that Zinedine Zidane rested Toni Kroos for a reason against Manchester City, because he knew that this game against Barcelona was going to be make or break of their season, and he's going to decide to put an extra man in the midfield to cover up for, of course, one Lionel Messi, and of course most of those direct players like I've been mentioning, like De Jong and Artur. So I think they're going to be going with Thibaut Courtois in the goalkeeper position. We're going to be seeing Carvajal, Ramos, Varane, and Benjamin Mendy to make that back four. Mendy has been absolutely incredible for Real Madrid. And you could see that, for instance, some people are going to start saying, we probably missed out on Mendy. Barcelona were close on signing him in the summer, but then Real Madrid kind of snooped him up and we got Junior Firpo. Junior Firpo is going to be starting this game as well, just spoiler alert. And it's going to be interesting to see how those two players that are, I would say, last season in a very similar kind of level of quality. Let's see who have progressed the most. In the midfield, I'm going to be going with a 4-man midfield of Toni Kroos, Casemiro, Valverde, and Isco. No Modric here. I think that Valverde is a clear engine and a clear starter for Real Madrid, a player I really like that they have right now. Casemiro, you know what he does. Then Toni Kroos is going to be playing this game. He didn't play against Man City, so he has to play against Barcelona now. And Isco is just that player that reads a little bit better the tempo of the game and can add a little bit more to the kind of creation of that Real Madrid side. So he's going to be a player that we have to be very wary about. And then up top, I'm going to be going with Karim Benzema. And we're going to be starting Vinicius Jr. I think that Vinicius did it very well against Manchester City. And seeing it as kind of like an unbiased position, he was probably the best player for Real Madrid. He was constantly pushing forward, and it's surprising how a 19-year-old can be the star of this entire Galactico team, you know? So Vinicius Jr., for me, if I was Zidane, I would put him in there in front of someone like Gareth Bale, and so on and so forth. In the case of Barcelona, we're going to be continuing with our 4-3-3. I'm going to be going with Marc-André ter Stegen in the goalkeeper position. For the right, I'm going to go in with Nelson Semedo. Sergio Roberto is still injured and has not made this squad call-up. Then the two center backs are going to be, in my opinion, Clement Lenglet and Samuel Umtiti. Gerard Piqué, I will not put him. I think that Piqué, for now, is still a very important player for us for all other competitions. And seeing his ankle injury, I don't know. I'm not too sure he should be ready to start. I don't think he's going to be 100%. And I would like to avoid any sort of situation, like once again, for instance, against Man City, where Laporte literally just left after like 20 minutes. I do not want to see that. It's a wasted substitute. Let's go with Lenglet and Umtiti if Piqué is not 100% ready. Then for the left back position, Junior Firpo. And I know that a lot of you are going to be a little bit kind of, oh, Junior Firpo, because he was terrible in a way against Napoli, but the only way for him to improve is to continue playing in those roles, guys. It's literally the only way to improve. You need to give him the chance to improve, and I think that in El Clasico, Junior Firpo, I would give him the start. I will give him the benefit of the doubt and go Firpo, kill them on the pitch. In the midfield three, I'm going to be going with Sergio Busquets, Arthur, and De Jong. I already explained my decisions as to why. And then up front, I'm going to be going with Antoine Griezmann, Lionel Messi, and Ansu Fati. I think that still Braithwaite, relatively new to this team, can be a very good wildcard off the bench. Prediction time, guys, and my prediction is going to be one of someone who I'm not normally, I always say this, I don't like being confident, I don't like being overconfident, certainly, because then the fall is a super fall. But I think that Barcelona, if they play the right way, if the right team selection is there, and I think Setien, hopefully, he kind of doesn't overthink this and he goes with what he truly believes in here, I think we can get a good win. A convincing victory at Santiago Bernabeu. I'm going to go with a 2-0 victory for Barcelona. Goes from one from Antoine Griezmann and then one from Leo Messi. That's going to be my prediction for the game, guys. I want to know who are going to be your scores, your results, your predicted 11s, and your ones to watch down here in the comment box down below. Right now, let me know. And then I'm going to be seeing you, remember, after the game for a post-match live reaction. And hopefully La Liga, like I said, doesn't copyright strike me, because they hate my channel for whatever reason. I do nothing wrong on it. I do not reproduce the video, the game, anything. And they just, it's literally like this, and they just copy strike me. I don't know. In reality, YouTube needs to get fixed. That's gonna be everything for today, guys. Hopefully you have enjoyed. See you in the next one. Take care. Ciao.